Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the What's New in PowerINSPECT 2016 webinar. My name is Stefano Damiano, and I'm an application engineer, part of the Metrology Product Specialist team. So, let's have a look at our agenda for today. We will begin talking about how easier than the previous release is now the CAD Object Recognition, how to make our reports more informative thanks to the new report note item, new commands and better way to create, edit and report our section inspections have been added, how in PowerINSPECT 2016 it's possible now to display GD&T items and visualize grid lines, and finally we enhance the way to visualize, laser scan and report information in the sequence tree. Now, to better clarify what kind of device the new feature or improvement is relative to, in every slide you will see a combination of all three the icons circled there. So if a new feature is relative to a portable device, you will see an arm. If it's relative to PowerINSPECT CNC, you will see a CNC CMM device. If it's relative to a PowerINSPECT OMV, you will see a machine tool icon circled, just for your reference. Right, CAD Object Visibility. In PowerINSPECT 2015 R2, when we load a CAD file and we go to the CAD tab, what we could see is just an icon here representing the CAD object type, and followed by a list of items with a name associated, but other than that we don't know what kind of object type the CAD is made of, or other information that could be relevant for me to know. Well, for this reason, in PowerINSPECT 2016, we enhanced this so we can straight away see what kind of object type we opened. So whether if it's a solid and is made of faces, surfaces, wireframe, or other object types. So straight away, the user can see all the information relative to the CAD. So more information straight away at the first glance. A number of changes have been made to inspection and section groups. Now we have two new types of inspection groups and two new types of section groups. So with CNC surface points, the user is able to automate the inspection of surfaces on a part that can be obviously repeated across measures. Whereas with CNC edge point, the user specified the probe path for edge point. With regard to section groups, guided section groups work in a similar way to the guided surface point group, and CNC section groups work in a similar way to CNC surface point groups. So thanks to this new type of section groups, we improve the consistency across the different section inspection groups, and at the same time also the usability of the product itself. There is a new item called report note item. This allows the user to add more information in the report by adding pictures and text as a note. For instance, if there is a damage to your part, you may wish to include this in the final report. As for the other items in the report, notes or pictures can be inserted anywhere, so that more information and more useful data could be added straight away in the report if needed. Section enhancement. In PowerINSPECT 2016, there is a number of enhancements to the section group item. You can now select different shading modes so that the nearest side of the selected CAD model can be shown as solid color, semi-transparent, or just hidden, giving the user the ability to better visualize the section itself. We also improved the section visualization in the Section tab, so we can now choose to show deviations as vector lines, which shows the angles that the surface was probed at. There is also new, in PowerINSPECT 2016, we improved the section visualization. In PowerINSPECT 2016, we also improved the section visualization in the Section tab, so we can now choose to show deviations as vector lines, which show the angles the surface was probed at. There is also now an independent Section Inspection tab within the Filter Display dialog, but we will look at this more closely now. So let's jump in PowerINSPECT. Okay, so now we have this CAD model and I want to create a section group. So I click on here and select CNC section group. I double click here so that the section dialog comes up. So the first thing that you can see is that there is a slider here, and moving the slider, the cutoff plane will move accordingly so that the user can easily see where the cutoff plane is according to the CAD. So once I'm happy with that position, I just leave it here, click OK, and here's my section. So you can see that by default we have this kind of view mode, so shading mode, but obviously as I said before, we can set section shading disable or just the hide model way. But honestly, I like the translucent model. Right, so let's commit this and let's now click on the section view. So with the section view, we can see straight away what section group has been selected last. So if I want to see the other section group, for example, I need just to click on here and PowerINSPECT display the one selected at the moment. So what we can do now, we can changing the deviation visualization so that I can see, instead of confetti, deviations lines or connected deviations lines or vector lines. But I can also switch front back the view and also rotate clockwise and anti-clockwise. Okay, let's get it back. And finally, with the filter display, we can filter what kind of deviation we would like to display in the main windows. So if we want to display all, or if we want to display section deviation text as well, or scale the confetti, all these options are here in a dedicated section inspection tab. Right. So let's go back to our slides and move on. and let's talk about the automatic collision avoidance. So in PowerINSPECT 2016, collision-free probe path can be now automatically generated between features. In the previous version, the user should have added the item manually, a procedure that sometimes can be time-consuming. But now, in this release, this process can be carried out automatically by PowerINSPECT for any current or future probe paths. So let's go back to PowerINSPECT and let's have a look at it. I change the session, I use this one. Okay, so before just having a look at the automatic collision avoidance, let me show another fantastic improvement. So if I want, for example, create a CNC surface path, I double click and immediately PowerINSPECT shows which orientation the probe will touch the point that I just created. So if I simulate, for example, I commit first and I simulate, from the point we can clearly see the orientation where the probe will approach and then touch the probe, the point that I made. But this is not all. If, for example, I edit this and I add more points, so let's create 3 points, for example. So we can see that as soon as I move the mouse cursor to the green lines, which represent the intermediate link probe path, there is like a little circle here. If I hold the mouse button, I can drag it anywhere, so I can easily edit the probe path without any further click or any selection, or without going somewhere to select this option. And I can do it every time I need to edit. I can simply just go towards the middle of the two intermediate link and just hold the button and drag it wherever I want. If I want to add one more point in between the two that I've just created, what I need to do is just, again, move the mouse cursors over the green line, click once, and then this bit here turns blue. Now I know that this means that in between here, and if I double click anywhere, I will create a point. The same, if I double click now, PowerINSPECT will create a new measure point that will be linked to the other, and so on. So we don't need any further options. Just the mouse cursor movement will allow you to create or to edit the probe path. And finally, we can also change here, obviously, the approach from the first point here or the last the same way. And obviously I can always add one more point. So really easy and intuitive is now to edit and create further measured points in 2016. Okay, now that said that, I delete this and I will create like a collision, and we will see what the automatic collision avoidance will get. So let's create it. 1 point here. And let's commit. And and one other point here. And commit. So you can clearly see there is a collision. So what I used to do is, okay, I move the insert cursor here in between, and I create a collision-free link path, and I commit. And PowerINSPECT recalculates the pro path. Now, what we can do in 2016 is just automate this process. So I don't need to click and select the intermediate path myself. To do that, I need to go to Tools, Automatic Collision Avoidance Mode. So you will be asked, PowerINSPECT, if automatic collision avoidance mode is enabled, do you want to continue? Click yes. And now if I select again to CNC surface point, I create a new one here. And I commit. PowerINSPECT will create automatically a safe intermediate path. So you don't need anymore to go select and create intermediate paths yourself. PowerINSPECT will do the job for you. If for some reason you want this option disabled again, you can always go to Tools and disable by clicking on it. And if you want to retain the current collision-free link items. If you say no, PowerINSPECT will just cancel everyone so that you can start from scratch, maybe change the position of the point, and do whatever you need to do. Right, so let's go back to our slides and carry on. Editing probe database. In PowerINSPECT 2016, a new Edit Database button has been added in the Future Probing dialog. Clicking on this button opens up the Machine Configuration dialog. From here, you can view and change the settings of the measuring device. For instance, the probe angle can be changed, allowing the user to reach places in a single probing session. In PowerINSPECT 2016, there are a number of enhancements to label formatting, particularly for GD&T items. So we can now display GD&T items labels. Also, new options have been added in the Session Label Settings dialog. To enable further customization of labels, checking the control frame and the GD&T status, so that a user can see straight away whether these items are in tolerance or not. One more improvement to labels is the ability to add grid lines by selecting the new option in the Session Label Settings dialog, making the information clearer and tidier. In PowerINSPECT 2016, a new option has been added in the Point Cloud Tool dialog. Now the user can create a new point cloud group during the acquiring session when pausing and then resuming the scanning. We will see this in a bit when we jump in PowerINSPECT. And finally, a new option has been added in the Point Cloud Tool dialog. Now the user can create a new point cloud group during the acquiring session when pausing and then resuming the scanning. But let me show you this. So to do that, I'm going to the YouTube, our YouTube channel, Delcam Advanced Manufacturer Solution channel, where you can see in the Learning Zone area, you can see all the videos relative to the new feature in PowerINSPECT 16 or in the previous versions if you want. So let me show what I've just said about point cloud. I just go to full screen mode and just click on play. So what I said, this new option will allow the user to create point clouds every time we pause and then resume the scanning. So we can create more than one point cloud without just while you're measuring, without get out of the measuring mode. So you can see in the sequence tree we create 2 in this case. And the other option is automatic zoom. So if we want to include other items while we're scanning, we can do it by checking this box. So we always keep an eye on the other item while scanning. But if you want to just focus on the area that for you is relevant while scanning, and regardless either items, you can do it just unchecking the box. You can see now other minor improvements are also included in the videos. In this case, the ability to extract ellipses from point cloud, but you can see many others, for example, also showing the number of point scan lines directly in the sequence tree. Other fantastic features are shown here in the videos. Please, if you want, just go to YouTube and just enjoy the new features available. So I think we talked about everything for this session. I hope you enjoy the new features, and I thank you all for your attention and time, and see you soon.